Before we begin, I would actually want to admit that this is my first time moderating a panel, so please be kind. And I was simply told by my fellow lovely Antonia that I should not panic and look confident. Let's see how that goes. A little bit about me. For those who don't know me, I'm Katerina from Equals Money Group. I work across regulatory compliance and most recently I've just migrated to the Fintech payments ecosystem, helping partners and clients to scale international payments and embedded finance solutions across different markets. So, being in Equals myself, it's a licensed EMI for nearly 20 years, and what we can see from that is that generally it's impossible to miss that the financial world is changing at a pace where no one can afford to miss. So let's jump in on our panel discussion, whereas we have three major frameworks that are reshaping how we all operate. MiCA, which finally gives us the first truly harmonized set of rules for crypto and stablecoins, PSD3 and the new Payment Services Regulation, and the EU Artificial Intelligence Act, which was so much expected. For some of us, it's a pain, but let's hope it's gonna improve in areas like AML, KYC, and fraud monitoring without intervening with operations. So,
they did give us the death slot, so you can relax. No point, there will be no resurrection.
There's so much to say.
We are the only ones here, just us, a big regulatory family.
Thank you. Okay, so today's panel brings together experts from compliance, from advisory, payments, technology, digital assets. So let's get started on MiCA. So a quick snapshot on MiCA is that it's the first EU fully harmonized framework on crypto assets, covering exchanges, custody, stablecoins, and disclosures. It brings clarity to what was previously a patchwork of different national laws into one set of rules, which introduces strict requirements and governance and marketing conduct. The idea is simple. It's to create trust, protect customers, and give compliant firms the ability to expand across Europe. So let's look what that means for the industry.
How we touch on a practical side, this implementation.
Exactly.
And so I think it's better to start the discussion between ourselves.
Right.
Because
on the impact.
I will start with making a brief comment about it in terms of the following. We were expecting indeed an overall harmonization in the industry. We were also expecting a more common interpretation by various member states in terms of MiCA. I have not seen this in practice because even though it's a regulation, I see various European countries having different expectations from their supervisees. So my approach is that we still have a long way towards harmonization on this. But I will leave it to the experts that are already licensed under CISEC in order to give their practical hands-on opinion.
Thank you, Antonia. What I would say about MiCA, first of all, as a personal story or personal emotion, I would start with the emotion of annoyance, and I will give you a very simple example.
Antonia, he warned us.
So
he warned us.
Back in the day when we had this new regulation coming into force, especially around stablecoins, we saw the delisting of Tether, USDT, from major exchanges. And this forced the users of those exchanges actually to either withdraw their assets or convert to MiCA compliant stablecoins. On one hand, yes, I do understand from the perspective of the user how annoying this can be. But on the other hand, I can also understand that it's all about the asset integrity. having these stable coins backed by real collateral, by enforcing these rules when it comes to obtaining the trust that we need in the market, so that we have institutional players joining the crypto asset space and not just the retails. So yeah, I would say that MiCA can be difficult. It still needs work when it comes to the harmonization, different rules, different approaches by various member states. But in the end of the day, I think it's going to be a positive change when it comes to enabling this trust needed within the crypto space for the industry to flourish. So yeah, that's.
I mean, George,
Thank you, George.
you've been at this for a long time. So where do you think we are? How much more road do we need to go to get to where you see the optimum? I mean, is this just a good start? Are we halfway there? Because there's 28 regulators in the EU and they all have their own ideas about everything and anything, right? But at the end of the day, I mean, they just sit in some office and drawing regulations, but you work here. So where do you think we stand?
I think that this is an opportunity for Cyprus. And the way I see this is we already have a very strong regulator that has a lot of experience, especially on MiFID II. We have a large network of forex companies, CFDs that were operating under the MiFID II. Now, essentially, MiCA is the adjustment of MiFID II into the crypto asset space. So I like that there is these differences across different nations, because this gives Cyprus a sort of a competitive advantage, if you want to call it that. We have a huge pool of English-speaking talent. We have strong regulator. It's very cost-efficient to operate from Cyprus, especially if you are in the EU. So I like it that we have these differences, because this just highlights Cyprus as a competitive destination for crypto asset service providers and anyone within the crypto asset space.
I'm going to throw 2 bombs here to you guys. I'm sorry, I'm going to do it. I cannot like unhosted wallets and banking of crypto merchants.
Okay. Let's take a step back. Okay, let's take a step back.
Thank you, Antonia.
I
You're more than
understand
welcome.
there is a bit of kind of a rage, or not rage, highlight on the negative things that MiCA brings on the table. However, we must acknowledge that MiCA is a very, very positive development for the EU. If we're going to look at the essence of the regulation, it's a step it's a brave step by the EU to take the initiative and drive regulation of this uncharted territory of crypto. And strictly speaking, the application in an ideal world, George, I understand the problems that we already discussed a while ago, but in an ideal world, the MiCA would bring solid foundations to both issuers and service providers that are effectively governed by MiCA, that act as a bridge between TradFi and the crypto world. Therefore, this inevitably has teething problems. However, we must avoid kind of demolishing the whole concept because of these teething problems that we're facing at the beginning. I don't know whether Nikolas would like to add something.
Yeah.
I think there should be no one that's on the right mind that has a problem with MiCA becoming a reality. The absence of MiCA was very very logical, but at the European level, with the European Union facing criticism at all levels of lagging behind anything innovative, at least coming up with a harmonized regulatory framework,
It's a win.
which is imperfect, for sure, but it's still there, and it's now up to the market participants to lobby, to coordinate and refine. It's the best possible scenario. Earlier today, we're having a meeting with a client, and we're discussing whether the Estonia interpretation of a particular requirement for the provision of some documents going, let's say, 10 years back, because it is mentioned in the regulation, is excessive, and we argue that it is excessive, and at the SISEC level, this is not requested, so there are these little differences in how they go about it, but having MiCA as a regulation, MiCA, harmonized at the EU level, open to refinements and improvements, it's a great first step.
Just to build on that, a couple of comments. Having seen, a few articles on the Clarity Act that is coming across the Atlantic, MiCA seems like a more rigid set of regulation. So again, this adds credibility to MiCA, and to take it another step further, it gives the opportunity to all stakeholders outside the crypto market to segregate between the risk, let's say, involved with respect to their associates when it comes to, for example, if you're going to, we will all have to readjust our risk assessment methodology to ensure that the MiCA regulated organizations are of lower risk than an unregulated crypto service provider or issuer.
Differentiation
Exactly.
between different industries.
Exactly.
Well, definitely this is the first time we're seeing harmonized law, and this is something that, of course, will gain a lot of publicity and will be
Katerina,
revised and revised all over again.
Exactly.
We have to hug it, right? Even it's a pain, but we have to hug it and accept the opportunities, as you said, George.
I would say it's a necessary evil in order to establish the trust needed in the crypto space. Up to today, it was a wild, wild west. We need to set strict rules, have the necessary compliance rules, the backing of the companies, the asset segregation, the integrity of the assets that we're offering towards the clients. So yes, it does make sense. Every change is going to be difficult, but it's going to be for the best. So.
Thank you. Antonia, can I ask you?
Before you ask me, I just want to close something here.
Yeah,
on the MiCA part. So, to be very fair with you guys, on a practical level, it does give me comfort to see like a company's application towards MiCA and so on. What does not give me comfort, though, is the fact that I don't see the same approach by all regulators. I do hope that at some point, like in 2 years from now, that everything will be completed. We'll be at a point that where yes, we are going to say that indeed there is a proper level of supervision, the proper level of licensing, and that we will not have to do as compliance officers the work of the regulators. So I would like to see that, but it's a very positive step forward.
But
indeed.
Antonia, was there a perfect regulation in the EU? Ever?
That's a trick question, and I refuse to respond.
All right.
So far.
Yeah, you can plead the fifth, that's fine. But
no.
So it's a good start, right? It's not perfect. It will never be perfect. We need to give it time. And maybe the difference is we can turn them into an advantage. I'm talking as a Cypriot now, or Cypriot-based entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
So it's a half full glass, not half empty. Nikolas agrees with me, he's smiling.
100%.
But none of you took the question about the hosted wallets.
Indeed.
Who is going to take it?
What was the question again?
Okay, let's go to the next one.
We'll find the opportunity to question them again about the wallets. From a payments angle, though, I wanted to see whether, Antonia, since you're the head of compliance and AML in Nuvei, I want to see how MiCA reshapes your type of industry from the payments angle.
So I think it's what I just said, like it does indeed increase the trust in terms of accepting a crypto merchant. Being at the payment service provider that is actually servicing globally, you do need to be at the forefront overall of any development, either in Europe or internationally. Of course, the introduction of MiCA did affect the acceptance of of specific coins. But overall, we endorse it, and we do expect from our merchants to be MiCA licensed, or by the end of the year to submit respective proofs that they have proceeded with the respective application.
Great. I can see some improvements already being made. We were expecting MiCA anyway for so long. Now that it's here, we need to grasp it. So thank you on this subject. I'm planning to move on from crypto to payments. And I just wanted to give you a quick reminder on how we got here. So PSD1 was the first, it opened the European markets in 2007 by allowing non-banks to enter the system. PS2 transformed the landscape with stronger customer authentication and open banking. And now we're moving towards PS3 and new payment services regulation, which tightens the fraud controls, modernizes consumer protection, trust, as we said earlier, and pushes for better and more reliable open banking infrastructure across Europe. So I actually wanted to ask Nassos, with PSD3 introducing all of these anti-fraud rules and liability shifts, how do you think firms should adapt their internal controls to mitigate this operational and reputational risk?
Thank you very much. Well, I have to admit once again that it's a very well-received development to start with. A challenging one, but nevertheless, a very well-received. So I'll talk from our perspective as Abacus, which basically is the approach is to start talking with our clients, being
educated.
Educating. Well, before moving to education, to understand where our clients stand with respect to PSD3, to understand the level of awareness and to understand their needs. So if you understand that one client of yours is not even aware of what is happening, then you need to start from the very bottom. At the same time, if they started developing, a certain level of controls or readiness, let's say, towards PSD3, to see whether you are in a position to support them in whichever way needed. And again, it comes down to, from the second that we are in full effect of the directive and the provisions of the regulation, to ensure that this is also included within your risk methodology, because it's important you would like to segregate between clients that are fully aware and in full compliance according to your assessment. Your assessment can be performed in the form of a questionnaire, just
like a B2B relationship, whereas a B2C is much different. You need a smooth transition into
Of course,
into this.
which is not to be underestimated, because it's a huge task.
No,
so
of course,
you shouldn't be too stiff in this aspect. So again, to include it within your risk management and ensure that it's reflected within your procedures.
A note on this from the industry is that part of what we do deals a lot with mergers and acquisitions. And the most in-demand type of licensed entity that different acquirers approach us to cater them with is an EMI or a PI license in Europe. So I would say that PSD2 created the EMI market. It proved the need for this layer between the market and the banks, not being banks. And PSD3 is probably going to come up and fix any anomalies that were unfortunately created. But again, going back to the previous discussion, PSD2 was a great thing, imperfect in its own making. Hopefully, PSD3 will be less imperfect, but still a work in progress.
Thank you, Nikola. True. Coming from an EMI myself, I can see a lot of progress from 2 to 3. Now, a more technical question about data standardization and more reliable APIs. What challenges do you foresee for firms trying to achieve this cross-divert EU markets?
This is not just an EU problem.
No, but
Basically you have legacy systems that have been there forever across pretty much all aspects of the capital markets, payments, financial institutions in general, that they have been there for a long time. It's just not doable for all this to change with a new directive or a new regulation in 6 months, in a year. Just won't happen, right? And it's slow. You have one part of the market that moves at 1,000 miles per hour, and you have the other much bigger part of the market that cannot move, right? That's why you have the creation of, the RegTech companies, the service providers that can just take the data from one source and, send it to the other. Still, it's a work in progress. Standardization is not there. You have software with on-prem installations that are 20, 25 years old. And then the incumbents just built more and more solutions around them.
But
and
no
this,
infrastructure.
Exactly. And this
to
cannot be
support
fixed
it.
with a regulation or with daydreaming. This will take time, but they either have to change or eventually they will be replaced. But it's slow, very slow.
Replacement, something I'm going to need for my next topic about being replaced as humans.
Who's replacing us?
Any other notes on this
Yeah,
subject?
I do want to I want to point out the elephant in the room.
All right.
With the PSD3, we are talking about a total liability shift. Like it's a total new approach by the regulator. We are talking about shifting liability
To the PSP.
to the PSP, which is, we see like a notion of consumer protection in practice. And this forces PSPs to take more radical actions guided by PSD3. And I believe this is important to be noted. I will not get into the details, understanding that we only have 15 minutes left. But I believe that this is a point that all PSPs should be focused on and be very careful with.
Great, thank you about that, which takes me to the next topic, which is about AI Act, the Artificial Intelligence Act, the so much awaited act, to see what's going on. And this is where we're going to talk about shifts, about transits. Yes, I've just, being unexperienced, I don't realize how time goes by. Great. So I'm going to wrap it up with the third round of questions. But first, let me say a few things about this Artificial Intelligence Act, which introduces the world's first risk-based framework for artificial intelligence. It gives many financial tools and many guidance and much guidance on AML, KYC, fraud detection models, which they actually fall under the high-risk category according to the Act, which means more explainability, human oversight, strict documentation, and continuous monitoring being no longer optional. So, how can firms balance this innovation in AI-driven compliance tools with the new governance, I would say? And well, let's start with this question first, because I want to understand how the industry perceives this act by each one of you. Have you had the chance to get through it, to go through it?
Well, it's another first for the
Nassos.
EU, right?
Yes, I know, right?
So we're talking about a champion.
Three major topics.
Champion in regulation.
So many news.
On a more serious note, though, AI intruded our lives. We saw the previous panels as well. Just the AI was every 10 words we heard AI.
Correct.
And it's in our lives. So how do we approach it? Well, I'll take it again holistically. It's knowledge accumulation, to understand our procedures, to go through and reflect as an organization regarding what kind of usage do we make of AI, to be clear in our minds, in the management's mind, how are we using this technology, map it down, and do the assessment either on our own. I mean, we did it as a firm on our own, or bring in experts with some knowledge on the subject, document it, and take this journey in, in the regulated avenue, let's say. This is what I recommend in order to be able to highlight what's minimal, what's low, what's high, and what's unacceptable.
Yes. I'm taking another step back from your perspective, since let's say...
Okay, let it flow.
I
see
have
George
a
has
little
some
bit of
points to
fog.
put, and he's gonna...
If I could add to that, as the GM of T-Rox, a crypto as a service provider, I think that AI within our processes is necessary. It is necessary in the KYC space, in the AML space, in the blockchain monitoring space. It is necessary when we are providing exciting features to our customers, upgraded services, improved customer support. But of course, you need to have the human intervention, because AI is not perfect yet. It will not replace humans as we think about it in the very near future. We are long way to go until general artificial intelligence. So yes, it is a tool. It's not a panacea, but it is a tool that will help us to optimize every step of the way, the user experience, our compliance, and essentially maintaining the regulatory compliance that is needed with, again, the use of this tool.
I remember we were here 2 years ago with Panis writing a poem straight from ChatGPT. It was the debut of ChatGPT 2023. And everyone was like, wow, AI is going to take over. They're going to get our jobs and everything. And now we can see AI really helps a lot. And the tool has to be contained, it has to be ruled out. I will let the rest add on.
Although I'm in favor of MiCA and also of PSD3, EU AI Act reminds me of a question I had a few years ago in a similar setting, where I was asked whether regulators should be leaders or followers, and I made the case that they should be really good followers, not leaders. Now, in the case of AI, we all accept that it's something unprecedented in terms of capacity and capabilities and what is going to change. At the same time, at the EU level, what the EU AI Act says it's supposed to do, it's, it reads very nice on paper, but at the same level, we are in a global financial ecosystem, and we need to remain competitive. So I like the words risk-based. I like everything that it says on paper. At the same time, we should not handicap ourselves from going out there and as Europeans, as EU, getting a piece of the action and developing the next AI companies that will not dominate the world. That's not a nice word, but be part of the future. It shouldn't be just US-based. So when you have US accepting that we have opened the Pandora box, because we have, and we should closely follow, not lead, I think of the EU AI Act as something like that. That's something that, okay, it's here now, but it should mainly follow, not lead the market. The market should be free to do its own thing, and then regulators should follow.
Just to add on that.
I totally agree with Nikolas, by the way. I mean, we have no idea where AI will be in, I don't know, next week, right? So when bureaucrats sit down and they write the regulation about what it should be, how it will be, makes no sense whatsoever, right? And we are, at the EU level, we are nowhere near where either the US or China is, right? So basically what we're doing right now is making sure that we will be the last ones. Right?
What I would like to add as a
Ladies
advocate,
first.
please go ahead.
Thank you.
She
So,
warned
just to
you.
close- I warned you. Just to close this, just a quick note on this one. The AI Act makes it very clear in terms of the auditability, traceability, and human first. So, having said that, you can easily utilize your AI agents and so on in order to make faster, quicker, like low-level duties. Low-level duties, I mean more administrative duties or duties that do not require like extreme critical thought process and so on, that can be easily monitored. But at the end of the day, you have the liability, you have the responsibility of monitoring these decisions. So what the AI Act does, in my humble opinion, is that it's actually protecting this. It's protecting the fact that humans should always come first. I don't judge if it's right or wrong. It's not my place to judge.
Antonia, you're going to have a huge disadvantage versus your US counterparts.
The good thing and the good news is that I'm regulated globally.
Massive.
But you are absolutely right on the following. If it's solely in one area, in one place of the world, living in a globalized economy, you cannot unilaterally create boundaries that will limit the further development. But at the same time, though, we have always in mind that EU has two basic approaches. Number one, is the correct, by the way, Melanie, approaches? Has a basic approach. That number one is the systemic risks, and number two is consumer protection. So what they always have in mind, they always keep in mind, is these two things. This is what they wanted to proactively, my understanding is, to proactively protect. Yes, I do agree with Nikolas, though, that it should be a very, very good follower, not a leader on this area.
I'm thinking of the story. I don't know if it's true that Henry Ford, when he created Ford Motors and everything, he said that if you had asked people at that time, before we create cars, what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. So it's this kind of thing. I mean, we really don't know what we want going forward.
What I would like to add, I think that the AI Act is not considering a fundamental flaw with the system. And I speak that because I see the things from the crypto side of things. I am an advocate for decentralization. Currently, AI is siloed. It's among some, I don't know, a handful of very large corporations that are utilizing our data for their own profit. So yes, indeed, the regulation comes in to protect the consumers, in order to set some ethical standards when it comes to the AI. But perhaps it's not the right approach in order to solve the problem. Perhaps the approach is to decentralize AI and leave the market decide what is the best, the most valuable application of AI. And this can only be done with the use of technologies like blockchain and digital assets. So I'm not entirely sure what is the right response, whether the AI Act is indeed necessary or if it's stifling innovation, but I believe that there should be a new paradigm into how we deal with new technologies and allow the market to decide what is best.
You cannot protect consumers if there's only, I don't know, a handful of companies having the technology, right? You cannot.
Yeah.
There's companies that are bigger than not just regulators, but organizations. Entire countries. Sorry, right? So
let's wrap it up.
Whatever act there is just not going to work. But in order, you should promote, if you're the EU, you make it easier for companies to come up with their own AI and AI solutions. Now, if it's centralized, decentralized, at the end of the day, do we help companies to achieve more?
The more companies, the more decentralized.
Sorry?
The more companies, the more decentralized it is.
Exactly. Free market.
Guys, we're about to open a Pandora box and we only have 5 minutes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Like, I'm very itchy to respond on that, but I will take it afterwards for drinks. Like, seriously, I really want to, but I will give it to Katerina.
George took it very personally. He's like,
no,
he's an advocate.
Don't take anything personally.
No, it's just a fundamental ideology that is very different.
From person to person, from business to business. That's it. And different ethics.
And that's beautiful.
That's beautiful, actually, yeah. That's why we're here, for discussions and continue the discussions over drinks. So I'm turning this subject to the last and final round of questions. which is, let's bring it home. It's actually the most funny line I've wrote. You have to laugh. Okay, let's bring it home to Cyprus. There is a real potential for the island to become a hub of payments, crypto, and regtech. Well, I'm just not going to repeat everything that everybody says in every single panel, that Cyprus is the best and could be the hub and could be everything. We have talent. We need the right mix of talent, regulatory clarity, and infrastructure in order to gain this. So I'm going to leave the dear panelists explain how Cyprus can differentiate itself from other EU hubs like Estonia, for example, that Nikolas mentioned earlier, Lithuania, which is a pioneer.
Can I ask for a favor? Can we now give it to George first, because before I took it first?
Yeah, okay, no problem, no problem.
George, go.
From the crypto side of things, I want to say that things are positive for Cyprus. We have a strong regulator, we have a huge knowledge base, local talent. We have one of the first bases in order to establish MiCA compliant companies and crypto asset service providers. However, there is a broken bridge between the traditional finance space and the crypto space. If you are a crypto asset provider, crypto asset service provider, although you might have invested millions in regulatory infrastructure, you have obtained the license, you have done everything right, you are going by the book, but if you knock the door at some of the local banks, the answer will be no. So as a Cypriot, I truly hope that the Cyprus Securities Exchange Commission
Gets educated.
The Central Bank of Cyprus can sit down and create a mandate for the local banks to accept the business, to open up the industry for crypto as a service providers for the benefit of Cyprus. We have a unique chance in order to differentiate ourselves, to become one of the leaders in the European Union when it comes to the providence of crypto as a service. So we just need to find the right way in order to incentivize local banks and open up the business as a regulated financial industry, whether it is crypto or whether it is traditional finance. There needs to be a bridge.
George, open an account on Revolut and forget the local banks. Now,
I would, but they're too expensive.
No, they're not.
So
We're too expensive.
Have you tried buying some Bitcoin on Revolut?
I'm not talking about crypto. I'm talking about traditional finance. Well, anyway, I would say that CySec and generally the bridge that you mentioned, it's like to γεφύριν της άρτας, whoever knows in Greek what it means. I would say we innovate responsibly. Με το μέτρο.
But that shouldn't matter, and I'll tell you why. It's been like 15 years I sit in panels or I go in panels and I hear, what does Cyprus need to do in order to be the funds destination of Europe, the crypto destination, and how we compare ourselves to, I don't know, Malta, England, Estonia? No, that's the wrong approach. We shouldn't compare ourselves to anybody else. We just need to decide what we want to be, how to become that, write down a plan, and move forward. Do we have talent? Yes. Is this a country where lots of people would like to come here and work and raise their kids and they have opportunities? Yes. But we cannot every 5 years. I think, Melanie, you were in funds summits before, right? How are we going to become A, B, C, D? We never do anything. So basically, we have a lot of what it takes, but then if some people want to be in crypto, some others want to be in asset management, let them be. We're very, very small, so we cannot be the global or EU hub in pretty much anything. We just need to go out and execute. And coming back to the example of regulators, it's fundamentals, business 101. There is a gap in a market, right? You find the solution, you market yourself, you sell it, you make money. If a local bank, and I know, I used to be a banker, they're not going to open an account to you, go to an international bank, but that should not stop you, and that is definitely not going to create a problem in the local economy. Why? If George opens an account in Revolut and he's doing well and he's going to hire another 20 people, 60% of the global GDP is rental spending. So our economy will go up. And if Hellenic or Bank of Cyprus or whomever don't open accounts to them, it's their loss, not yours. So there we have it. We just need to move forward and execute.
At the level of the banks, I wouldn't expect SciSec or CBC to kind of form the discussion.
Because they don't know either.
Exactly. It should come from higher up. It should be either IBA or ECB. And because IBA was part of MiCA, I'm surprised they still haven't done it. But like Andreas said, there are options already in the market, and that's why we have a lot of people like Antonia and Katerina and DMIs that they fill that gap. The Cyprus question is a tricky one because at the same time we're doing very, 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 very well in multiple fronts, and at some fronts we're not doing so well. Is it bad to ask the question how we can do well on that front as well? Depends. It depends who is asking the question and who is giving the answer. I don't have a problem with the question, but it is a fact. We have done very well in the past 20 years. We have transformed the services industry from a very tax-efficient, structure-oriented to much, much more complicated. We have extremely knowledgeable law firms, extremely knowledgeable accountants, compliance officers, AML compliance officers. We have, in my opinion, reshaped our reputation at the global stage in terms of how we go about AML. We have overdone it in most of cases. So Cyprus is doing already quite well. People are free to ask questions. The more discussions you have, the more decentralized the answers. But on a positive note, I think it's 2025. It's a quarter of a century. We have done really, really well for the first quarter of this century.
Well, from my side, I just want to highlight that we are part of the EU. Decisions and let's say the direction is made in Brussels. Locally, we have amazing workforce knowledge and battle-tested knowledge as well, both from the various crises that we have experienced the last 20 years. This can be very useful, and I strongly believe this, very useful at the European level. I mean, both the banking crisis, both the sanctions exposure that Cyprus had to the Russian market, and many more. The Marie incident.
The last 15 years have been roller coaster.
Indeed. I mean, if we look back, we can see that it's the resilience of our island is unique, and there are many lessons learned, practical lessons. So if we manage to kind of combine the compliance culture and the talent that we have locally, in combination with I'm taking a step further now. The FDI. The recent legislation that was passed, even though we were the last in Europe, we are in a unique position to actually deliver miracles and leverage this across the EU. So it's up to us at the end of the day to organize, set up a strategy, but within the framework that is set by Brussels, because that's where we are. And this cannot be changed.
It's a challenge indeed.
Thank you. I just want to say with that, I agree with all my co-panelists, but I just want to add one more thing. In addition to what can be done, I will just state what it should not be done, in my humble opinion. What should not be done will be for Cyprus to take measures over and above than the other European states are taking. Like we have a few examples whereas regulatory-wise, certain regulators will demand things that other European countries do not demand. This, when you're an international business, has an impact. Why? Because you have other choices. So having said that, this is something that we have seen in practice, international firms wanting to move their license, wanting to move, I will not mention the name of the company, but you already did the recent incident.
We all know the company.
Good. So this means what? That you need to be competitive as a country by not over-regulating over and above from the direction given by Brussels or by EBA or by ECB. Follow don't lead on this area. Why? Because international businesses will react and you will lose revenue as a country. You will not be appealing anymore, especially with the coming tax upgrade.
I was going to say about the tax upgrade as well. Don't rush yourselves. We still have the corporate tax to decide until, I don't know, the end of the year.
That was just a humble point. And the other point is that, as George said, we see fragmented evolution. We don't see same speed in different sectors. We see a different speed in the private sector and a different speed in other sectors. For a hub to be created, you need focused groups in the same speed. Like each stakeholder should follow the same speed because you are only as strong as your weakest link in this ecosystem. That's my 2 cents here.
Thank you, Antonia.
Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists. I have to wrap it up, unfortunately. I loved it up here. I think I'm going to stay for the next one as well. Any questions to everyone?
Don't be shy, we accept questions.
Yeah, don't be shy. We're prepared for these questions. No questions? Hi. Thank you for the anecdote.
George?
Well, that's a very hard answer. Well, very, very
Not
hard
to
answer.
George, please.
Well, what I see when it comes to MiCA, they are enforcing specific rules also to protect the euro. And what do I mean by that is that right now, when it comes to the stablecoin volume, it's maybe 100 times bigger in USD-denominated stablecoins rather than the euro-denominated stablecoins. So this is another attempt in order to protect the single currency. But when it comes to a more friendly banking environment, I think that right now we actually have an alternative. And if banks do not realize this as soon as possible, they will go through a lot of competition from stablecoin neobanks. So if instead of putting my euros into a bank and getting, 1-2% interest rate, I deposit it in a stablecoin neobank and I get 8 or 9%, why wouldn't I do that? If I know that my Euro C is backed by one-to-one with euros, that you have MiCA regulation enforcing, a new, the asset integrity, all the safeguards needed in order to establish the trust required for me to, buy that stable coin, then I think that the banks will not have any other option than to be crypto-friendly, because they're going to go through an extinction level event if they don't. That's my own personal opinion always.
Thank you, George. Any more questions? No? Everything understood? Great. Okay, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Lovely
much.
panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you. If it makes anyone happy, Christine Lagarde last week said that if the EU does not embrace AI soon, it will be detrimental to the European Union.